Give me a home out in the bush, please. Lots of more trees, a bong or two, me, mate. Wild roots, some skunk out the back. Hydro in the shed, and the old smoking chair, and the old smoking chair.
G'day, welcome to the Terpene Table, where cannabis culture meets cultivated conversation. I'm your host, Wild Roo, grower, guide, and your mate in the garden. Each episode, we dig into the roots of the plant, from terpene talk to cultivar deep dives, to stories shaping the cannabis scene. So roll one, pack one, pour a cuppa, and let's hop in. This episode of the Terpene Table is brought to you by Growers Pal. Aussie legends when it comes to keeping your clones safe in transit. If you've ever tried to post a cutting wrapped in wet paper towel and cling wrap, you'll know it's a gamble at best. Growers Pal clone shippers take the guesswork out of it. Purpose built with segmented compartments to keep your genetics snug, and even a little LED light to keep them happy on the road. Whether they're headed up the coast or across the country, you can trust your prize cuts will land fresh, not fried. They're mates of the Roo and they're mates of the Discord, so you know their growers looking out for you, not just trying to sell you something. Head over to growerspal.com.au. That's www.growerspal.com.au and sort yourself out with a proper kit for moving your genetics across the country, because good clones deserve a fair dinkum safe ride.
At Blazing Trail, we're on a joyful adventure celebrating life, love, and nature's beauty. We cultivate vibrant outdoor connections, foster community collaborations, and source wholesome treasures like our Sprout seed starter for precise, energy-efficient germination, and FlexiGerm silicone seed pods for sustainable, airflow-enhanced sprouting. All with the care for our world. Join us in blazing a sustainable trail filled with laughter and magic. Visit blazingtrail.com.au.
While we're on the subject of good gear, I'm going to give a cheeky shout out to my own spot, the Wild Vault. It's packed with glass, gadgets, and grow gear. All the little treasures that make your sesh just that bit sweeter. So, if you're looking for something fresh to add to your kit, swing by thewildvault.xyz and have a sticky beak. It's basically a toy box for grown-up stoners. And hey, if it's genetics you're chasing, head over to our mates at wildrootcultivars.com and check out what they've got cooking. Anyways, I'm starting to sound like a used car salesman, so back to the show. G'day, welcome back to Roo Chats, the place where growers, smokers, and straight up legends come for a yarn. Today, we're blessed to have a big name from the New Zealand cannabis community. So sit back, spark up, pack a cone or twist a doobie, and let's jump in. I'll shoot it over to him and he can introduce himself. So welcome, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Roo. My name is Porou Rangi, but people call me Pro or Porou for short. I'm founder of East Coast Cannabis Company, and I also work for Roo Biosciences Limited, which is a medicinal cannabis company based in the east coast of North Island, New Zealand.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Awesome. I know you spent a bit of time in the legacy scene before you stepped over to the medical scene. Tell me about that. How'd you get into cannabis? Sort of what was your foot in the door to cannabis, so to say?
Well, learned to grow cannabis probably about 17, 18 years of age, and I was lucky to have a couple of friends. We were all flatting together, and they actually had a background of cannabis growing with their father. So they were the same age. We lived in a place called Wainui, which was just out of Wellington, gorse hills, so hills with gorse all over it, and we learned to sort of grow cannabis up there. And from there, I think my biggest foot in the door to where it really got serious was when I think I was 20, 19 years old. One of my family members came to me and sort of said to me, look, another one of our family members was crook with cancer,
Okay.
and
Yep.
she could have a an operation, but it was going to cost a bit of money. And I think it was between the 20, $30,000 is what they needed to get it done privately. So I was a
Generally out of reach. Yeah.
yeah, generally out of reach, um, and this person was anti-cannabis. So it was doing it behind her back. So I learned to become a guerrilla grower, which was really like a ninja snooping onto other people's land, I guess,
Yeah.
in the bush or
Yeah.
farmland, and grow cannabis right under their noses, harvest it, get it out. And that lady now is 87 years old. So that money that we got together was able to help her live till today.
Yeah.
And
Basically put her into remission.
yes, put her into remission.
Yep.
And um from there, basically, I'd been taught a new skill.
Yeah, and
And
it's probably sprouted a bit of a love for cannabis. You were sort of like, hang on, I can do good things with this. Like,
yes, yeah. Um when I was 20, yeah, 20 years old, so this would have just been the following season. I got into a bit of shit. I was going down the wrong track at that time in my 19, 20 years old time and just hanging out with the wrong people, bit of a sheep following others, and
as
I got
most
in
of
a
us
bit of
do.
shit. Yeah, got in a bit of shit, and I was sent back to the East Coast. So that was my sort of first introduction to growing back on the East Coast. My family were originally from there,
Yep.
and they all moved to the cities, Wellington, when back in the 1950s. So I was actually brought up in the city in Wellington in the 1970s, and then moved back to Ruatoria. Well, was banished, more or less, sent back there to live with my auntie because I was quite a naughty boy.
You're being a little
And
shit. Go back and
yeah,
with your auntie. She'll sort you out.
yeah,
Yeah,
just the
as
usual
they do.
stuff
As
that
they
we
do.
all do.
Yeah. Yep.
And little did I know it was a mecca for growing cannabis at the time. It was one of the biggest producers of outdoor cannabis for New Zealand. And so with this newfound skill, I walked straight into, I guess, a knowledge base that could be tapped into. And so I learned to really being banished back here. I went to live with one of my aunties who was also anti-cannabis, and I would have been staying with her for about 3, 4 months, and then she found some cannabis in my belongings. She went snooping through there while I was at on camp,
As they do.
and
Yep.
she ended up kicking me out, like rang the police on me, kicked me
Oh
out,
wow. Yep.
and made a big drama about it. And essentially, I was exiled from my family's life for 23 years
Oh shit.
because of
Wow.
that,
All because of a bit of weed. Yeah.
just because of weed, blacklisted within the community from my auntie talking to other people, influential people around the town. And so I was known
Yep.
as the black sheep of the family,
Yep.
just doing criminal things in their eyes.
Yep.
And but what it really was that I was struck into survival mode because I couldn't really go back to my family and say the only other way to survive was to grow, and
Fall back on
uh,
something that you knew that you could do and you were good at. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, what I thought I was good at it. Well, I didn't think I was good at it at the time.
Or
I
good enough
just,
at it, I guess. Yep.
yeah, you're
Yep.
just sort of doing it, and met my missus. We ended up having 4 kids, and at that time, we had 4 kids under 5, and so growing cannabis to survive and provide for my family um, it became the priority.
Yep.
I had a skill, I had land to grow on, and there was a market that was, huge in New Zealand for cannabis.
Yeah,
And we never used to have to go far. We'd just go to the nearest city was Gisborne.
yep,
And that was a multi-million dollar industry for cannabis. And now it's a multi-million dollar industry for methamphetamine.
yeah, yeah. That's sad. Well, like cannabis in New Zealand and Australia, I guess we've always been, globally massive consumers of it. There's always been a massive market for it. So yeah, definitely. And
Mm,
and like you said, the East Coast has a reputation as being the mecca for cannabis in New Zealand. I think for a long time.
for a long time,
Yeah,
yes. As a teenager, I used to buy tinnies or $20 amounts of weed in
yes,
Wellington City
sticks,
that came
tinnies. Yep,
from the East Coast, and the weed was exceptional,
yep,
sun growing, and I guess when I became part of the people here that grew cannabis, we were labeled by the police as a criminal fraternity, but really it was just a lot of people that had been pushed into growing cannabis to survive, to
yeah,
provide for your
yep,
family, put
yep.
clothes on your kids' back, food on the table.
Yeah, which turns
Um,
into community because
yeah, it turns into
you find
communities.
solidarity in each other, and you find like you companionship because you're like, well, you're going through the same shit I've been through.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So, when I was sort of growing cannabis here, I started seeing a lot of good things with it. Like my cousins and that were taking their weed to Auckland, selling it, but bringing the money back and buying building materials and starting to build their own houses, building houses for their parents that may have lived in houses that have been handed down through generations. So,
yep,
started seeing a real positive aspect of it, even though it was illegal and
frowned upon and all of the rest of it.
frowned upon. And
Yeah,
in the area where, like in Ruatoria on the East Coast, were constantly hammered by prohibition. So aerial eradication was every year.
yep,
For the last 30 something years I've lived here, there've been 30 times.
yeah.
They've come every year consistently to just smash
Hear
cannabis.
those
And
choppers that
yeah, so
here we go again. Yep.
yeah, so and a lot of people out there will relate to the trauma that comes with a noise of a helicopter,
Oh
even
yeah,
years later.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Um, And my mates, they could tell,
A lot of
what
them,
type of
even
helicopter
in
it was.
America and New Zealand, even just vets, from the war,
Yes,
same fucking feeling, bro.
same
Like,
feeling.
yeah,
And that's, I guess that's everything that comes from the impact of prohibition in New Zealand, eh? Like it hasn't worked and all it's done is um, just created harm in communities like ours.
yeah, that's all it does in general. It ruins communities, it ruins lives, livelihoods. Takes parents away from kids, and you we could go on and on and on.
Yeah,
But like you say, it brings so much positive to a community as well. The money that it brings in, um, dealers and things like that always get frowned upon. But where do you think they spend all that money that they get?
that's
It,
right.
it all goes back into the community. They go to the local car yard. Yeah, they drive a fancy car, but they bought it from the local car yard. You know, so that the owner of that car yard could feed his family that week, and
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
and they
Those,
might.
I guess, are the pros that outweighed the cons for a lot of people up here that took that risk. Just like you're saying that you could barter with it to get a car, or you are spending money back in the community. And the Gisborne, the nearest city, which is 2 hours away, I remember getting a haircut one day, and the police were doing their eradication. And as I was getting a haircut, looking in the mirror, I could see back through the windows on the road, the police were going past with their trailers of weed that they had been pulling from backyards in the Gisborne city,
Gone and
but parading
confiscated.
it down the
Yep.
street,
Yeah. Okay. Open trailers. Like, look what
open
we've got.
trailers.
Yep.
And I heard a comment from another hairdresser and another lady sitting couple. seats down and they're saying, oh, I guess those ladies from the East Coast are not going to come through this year with those $50 notes to get their hair done. And so
Yeah, yep.
they could see the benefit of the money coming back into the communities, back into the cities.
Yeah, that's it. Well, they're already thinking about that, exactly that drop in decline in business because of that instantly. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Yeah.
Also, during the time I was here, we saw the influx of really good genetics come in. So in that like 95, when I was sort of here, 95 onwards to the early 2000s, we saw the skunks and the Afghanis and the early pearls and all these indicas that New Zealand had never seen before.
Yep.
They were flooding into the East Coast through a prominent seed broker based over in Vancouver, BC, called Mark Emery.
Yep.
And Mark had a connection with one of these guys from here that went over to meet him and went over and said, hey, we live at this longitude and latitude. We need genetics that are good for this area, and this is what our weather's like. And so we just saw an influx of what we called the chronic come into our area, and it just boosted prosperity amongst a lot of families. And
Yeah. Genetically
um,
suited genetics, or
yeah,
climate suited genetics. Yeah. So growers that actually were doing good with their growing were, yeah, really seeing results and benefits. And yeah,
yeah,
for
there's
sure.
just a lot better, I suppose, cannabis coming out. Predominantly it was sativa, and the sativa was good. But the indica that was coming in was doing something different, even to the community. The people who were consuming it were just a lot better, a lot happier, a lot friendlier, not angry, not
Well, it's a
fighting.
bit more chill. It's a bit more, yeah, it's not that head high. It's not that buzzy, like, well, I guess we went through that in Oz with like your Mullumbimby madness and things like that.
Mm.
Real high, heavy sativa leaning, hallucinogenic type weed, they call it. Um, but then, you've got your indicas and things like that, yeah, which are known to mellow you out and chill you out a little bit. And so them flooding through sort of changed your community. Yeah, okay. That's cool.
Mm.
It's good to see.
Yeah. Um, and I suppose, when you're sort of growing up around that and being part of all that, you end up finding really good genetics back then that, like for me, where it made me become a point of difference with what I had compared to a lot of the other growers were just growing commercially, growing bulk, all outdoor, and they'll go in the maize and that and just grow bulk weed, but it
Yep.
just became real commercialized weed. And so,
There's no care, there was no love. It was all just
no,
chucked
no,
in, all done for the cash flow. Yeah.
yeah,
As
all
much
done
as
for
I
the
can
cash flow.
quickly pump out, get in and out and get it done. Yeah.
And, because the coast was this mecca for cannabis going out to New Zealand, the a lot of that weed was servicing it, but then we saw a small niche of people start up that wanted chronic, that wanted that point of
Quality.
difference in weed
And,
quality.
and that point of difference, yeah, like you
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
And when
So
I
you
tell this story, in the industry, like when I say in the industry, I mean the legal industry here,
Yep.
people associate quality with high THC. And I say to them, no, 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 quality is something different than what you think is quality. So
Well, to
I
me,
guess the,
quality is your terpenes. Without,
yes,
if you can't retain terpenes and you're not, you haven't got that flavor and those flavonoids and all of that there, then you've got nothing.
that's
And
right.
that was a question I was going to lead to you now, and I guess I'll jump on it now that
Yep.
we're touching there. Because you're in the medical industry now. How do you feel about irradiated flower and things like that?
Personally, I'm dead against it.
Okay.
Like
Yep, that's
I'm
good.
I'm
That's
dead
amazing
against
to
it.
hear from a
Yeah.
medical point of view, I guess. Yeah.
Um, when we look at irradiated flour and the examples that are coming through, the flour's zapped. There's nothing in it. There's no terpenes.
No, there's
There's no
exactly.
flavonoids left, and it's over dry. And the industry has a spec that really is so high because they don't want any molds or bacteria to form on these flowers and potentially compromise those people that have that immunocompromised systems. And really, that's all irradiated weed is good for. It's only good for those people who are probably less than 1% of the whole medicinal industry.
Yeah, of the medicinal consumers, yeah,
Yeah.
would be
So,
those very high, yeah, like you say, or high intolerance to something like that. Yeah,
yeah. So, I think that's the biggest undoing of the whole industry. But this is classic of a legal industry that's come in without utilizing legacy experience to understand cannabis as a whole first. They've come in because they saw it was such a lucrative black market,
yep,
lucrative, it made so much money, and so the industry decides, oh, we'll get down on it, we'll make all that money, we'll crush the black market. But
yep. And
they,
then they have to bring in their pharmaceutical standards around it. Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
And because of that pharmaceutical standard,
You've
they
killed the
don't
soul.
understand they're dealing with a plant that
Yeah,
is living, making um something like an aspirin where you have 30 milligrams of this, 10 milligrams of that, and it's going to be consistent the whole way. So the industry to me is still years behind where we are as
yep,
the real world. They've tried to reinvent the wheel in cannabis and dictate that this is how it looks. So
yeah,
we're not really into the irradiation thing, and when I say we, I guess it's the people who have come from the legacy side that understand what quality is, and it's not by zapping the hell out of a plant. We might as well just chuck the flowers in the microwave and dry them and then give them out to the people.
yeah. The good old microwave
A
dry.
good old
Yeah, wrap it in a
microwave.
bit of paper towel, and yeah, I need a smoke. Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's yeah, but that's my stance on it. I'm dead against it, and
No, it's well put too, brother. I appreciate that because, yeah, I think, as most legacy growers, that's something that we cannot stand.
mm,
And here in Australia, it's massive. Um, Nearly every medicinal brand is irradiated flower.
yeah,
Um, a- and it's, yeah, there's, like you say, there's no terps, there's no flavor, there's no anything.
no
Uh,
love.
no love, no soul.
Mm,
It misses the whole point of what cannabis is about, in my opinion.
that's right. I agree.
Of course, there's healing and medicinal benefits to it, but you're losing a lot of them too when you nuke the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. So, do you ever see a way where legacy quality and ethos can meet in that medical framework, and meet together, or do you think they're just always going to clash?
I think it can get there, but it's trying to educate the industry that, when they look at this irradiated product, hey, it's only for these immunocompromised people that really need something safe. But the rest of the people don't have to have such a high spec of cannabis. And it seems funny because we know what quality cannabis is and what the industry is doing for their very for their patients that are the most ill is zapping the fuck out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, okay, give them that, but the rest of the people, they don't need that. So eventually I see a way that there needs to be another tier, whether it's a B grade market or something, that
Yep.
normal people that just want to have cannabis, whether it's for their anxiety or a little bit of arthritis or just that little sore back or that little pickup
Yep.
or
Bit of nerve
whatever,
pain, or yeah, exactly.
they
Yep.
can just have something that's not irradiated and also something that's not like what we call T-spec here in New Zealand, where it can contain a little bit of mold, but it must be drunk as a tea, not inhaled. No one's drinking it
Okay.
as a tea.
No, that's right.
Um, but that's how stupid we are. We've set the bar too high at one end, and then we've set the bar, well, not too low at the other, but it's stupid. We can consume it as a tea,
Yeah.
and it's just a big fucking charade
Well, that's
But
like
hey,
all of
look,
our medicine. I can't even say it properly because I just don't like the stuff. But
mm,
you know, I all of ours comes labelled with a must be vaporized, or must be used with a vaporizer um, label on the side of it.
yeah.
And I guess that's that loophole around that as well. It's the mold issue. But again, if you're nuking the crap out of it, there's nothing left in it.
There's nothing left. And before they even get to the radiation, they have like in New Zealand, we have a 10% moisture spec that the cannabis has to be that dry.
Yep.
And you're stripping terpenes when you're getting to that low. Like
Yeah,
you've taken
definitely.
all the water out. All you're taking after that is terpenes. So it's it's sort of defeating the purpose of what cannabis is, and but they highlight to the people, oh, this is a safe product.
Yeah.
It's safe for what you're getting on the black market. And that's the narrative that I hate because coming from the legacy and working within the industry, I can see that the industry is dictating its own picture of what cannabis should be in New Zealand and in Australia.
Yep.
And it's not what we see as people that have come from the real world of cannabis. So it's
Yeah, there's definitely ways that we can meet in the middle. I just hope that we get there.
Yeah, a lot of it is education, I think, because it needs people like me, especially in our industry. I'm lucky to be able to get up and talk amongst the Cannabis Council here. And so it's trying to push that narrative or sow that seed with them to look past all that, look past what you've got
Yep.
because the where we are in the world is we're this so far ahead, but our industry is so far behind, and we're still acting like that. And we need to get up to speed with where the where the real world is at with cannabis. So I think we'll get there. But what I also foresee is that if the medical industry can't sort its shit out, then Rick will be where we, um, get our legacy representation out there to the people. And
Yep.
it's a matter of for New Zealand, it's a matter of when, not if we go to legalization
Yep. You
or
can see Rec
decon.
going ahead
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
Rick will go ahead at some stage, but we've still got a lot of work getting
To do
our
around the
under
framework.
just get the framework right, and we've got a whole lot of stigma to change in New Zealand because we went straight from anti-cannabis for fucking 100 years or whatever,
Yep.
and suddenly we got a legal industry, and so people still don't understand what that means in New Zealand. We haven't
Yeah.
bothered to educate anybody.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess that's probably a big thing here too. But I think, we've looked at local, well, I've looked at a lot of local studies that have been done, and they've slowly over the last few years, public perception and public acceptance of medicinal cannabis has changed a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you see it a lot now in news articles and things like that all over social media. That's generally the first comment is just, on any raid or, a bust or anything like that. Generally, the first comment is just make it legal.
Hmm.
Yeah. So genuinely, I guess that just goes to show public perception in general. Yeah, I hope the pollies can catch up and put some sort of framework in place that's going to work for everybody and give these legacy growers a chance to have that
Hmm.
market, because like you say, they know quality. you know we know quality, we
Yeah,
know what we're
that's right.
looking at, we know what we want to smoke.
Yeah.
um what better way to support all the industries, really? You can give them their nuked flower, you can give the medicinal flower not nuked to your patients for, like you say, your back pain, your anxieties, your all of those things. And then you create that rec market as well, where you've got your legacy growers that can now come out of the framework, support their families legally. Yeah, there's definitely room for it. And it's been proven time and time again in different countries that it
Mm,
can be done and done successfully.
that's right.
And the tax revenue that they raise, that goes back into the communities is phenomenal.
Yes,
Yeah. And then, other illicit drug use comes down because availability and access becomes so easy. I'd much prefer, people getting stoned than smoking meth, or you're going to see a lot less problems.
that's right. Less social harm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Harm reduction, you know, that's what it's all about at the end of the
Mm.
day. Yeah, definitely. I've heard you do a lot of things other than just cannabis too.
Yeah,
Want to touch
and
on
that
them?
was because like pursuing cannabis in an area like this, it's shunned upon by a lot of people, and so with starting East Coast Cannabis Company in the heartland of it all, it
Yep.
was trying to get the acceptance of my community. And when we did our 5-year plan or whatever, we were sort of thinking, oh, when would we be able to get some profit? This is naive thinking that, it'll take 5 years in the legal industry to make profit.
Yep.
And we realized that in 5 years' time, it was too late to try help our community because they needed help then. And I
Yeah. At
remember,
the start, not at the end of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, needed it straight away. And because I went out and I talked to a lot of young people and sort of said to them, what is there on the East Coast for young people? And, what do the young people do to survive after, from school and all that? And the answer sort of it shocked me, but I sort of related to it, and they said to me, they go, "Well, Uncle, we start by selling tinnies
Yep.
because mum and dad have got no money for us, so they start selling tinnies of cannabis, and then they end up selling meth, and then they end up becoming a meth dealer." And I looked at
Wow.
what these young people here, the ones that are left behind, that they don't fall off the track. I mean, it's just they,
No, but it's just that they see that as their employment pathway.
yeah.
And that's
So
sad. Yeah.
that's all they could see, and I just thought, fuck that.
Yep.
And
There's
I
got to be
said to them,
something I
look,
can do here to help these kids. Yep.
yeah, and so that's why we started a trust, and the trust, because starting a cannabis company in a country where they've just gone from prohibition into having a legal industry. We couldn't get any support for government support or anything like that. So we started a trust that we were able to access government funding, and started putting that into programs on a site that was gifted to us. So a little bit of farmland, and we got a hemp license and ran a hemp course there it was already following on from a previous hemp course. We just got the license for that particular stint of 3 years, and it became a place where we used that funding to get people's hands back in the soil, like the community, get your hands back in the soil growing vegetables, whether it was
Yeah.
growing
Just
veggies,
gardening. Yep.
gardening. And
Yep.
the young fellas, we get all these ones that come from what they call restorative justice, and it's the young guys that, or young people that end up getting in the shit with the law, and then they have an opportunity to do community-based stuff. And
Yep.
so,
Find a way to give back to the
yeah, find a
community to
way. So
prove that, yeah.
we just interacted with them, and really it was became a mentorship thing, and there was nothing official about what we were doing. It was just a community event that, like we weren't even vet checked by cops to work with kids and shit like that. But we were all parents, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And so we just
It
created
was
a
just a
safe
community
space.
thing that grew into something.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
just grew
It,
into something, and
as all good seeds do.
and so with doing that, I guess that's what built up community credits for us, meaning that the community started, like when I started preaching the cannabis shit, they weren't so anti,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
hadn't
that's,
already made their mind up. They're like, well, hang
yeah,
on, I'm going to listen to Pro for a minute because,
yeah.
yeah,
And that's one of the greatest things that I think the way that I started my business like that really rubbed off on the community where there's a bit of trust and know that I'm not just for trying to get profit like the rest of the
you're not out
industry.
just to take money from their pockets. You're trying to
No,
build back and give back and
give back.
yep,
And that was the whole reason to doing it was to try and get our foot in the industry so that we could have a place like a spot for our community to come into it or and not just our community. I stood up for the cannabis community of New Zealand to be
yeah,
part
as
of
a
this
whole,
industry,
100% you did. Yep,
you know, and that was I think just doing things that way from the community perspective, working with the young people, trying to get these young people to um, earn and give respect to the elderly, sort of help bridge a lot of stuff in the community. And so when we started pushing the cannabis, they're right behind us.
yep.
And
You've already
yeah,
bridged those gaps between, the older community and the young community, and they've already worked together hand in
yeah.
hand, soil and soil. Exactly. Yep.
And the building of East Coast Cannabis was really to get a company into the industry, but to bring these young people in. You know, it's the future is really theirs. It's not mine. I've done my decades of growing and all that. So fighting for the industry or to have a foot in the industry is not for myself. It's for my community. It's for the people of New Zealand. Because in the beginning, they never wanted people like me in the industry. They didn't want any legacy
No,
representation. They didn't want criminals.
no,
You'll
they
never
said,
have a place here.
yep.
And
Anyone with a
ironically,
criminal record is outlawed from the medicinal community.
exactly.
Yep.
And the high case thing was I had a criminal record for cannabis, and I now am a responsible person on a cannabis license. So
Yep.
a lot of I guess, the shit that they used against us back then, I beat it. I
Yeah.
beat it from just being persistent
Being true to who
and
you
getting
were
my
and what
foot
you
into the
wanted to
door.
do and your ethos, I guess,
Yeah.
which was given back to the community, building up what you could build up for the young ones following through
Mm.
and giving them something and leaving a legacy behind, which it sounds like you're doing all of that. So
Yeah.
props to you, bro.
And it hasn't been when you say it like that, it's cool. And it was a passion and a desire to make sure that happened. And like I never want credit for what I do because I had a good time in the legacy world. I enjoyed myself and done good for myself. And I think now all I'm doing is just that service to the community, service to our people. And like you say, let's set up that thing for the future to come into because we deserve our place in this industry. We shouldn't be locked out, you know.
Who better exactly to speak for people and people in the legacy corner than someone who's come from the legacy market and from the legacy corner. I think it's absolutely awesome. I think it's great what you're doing. Yeah, and like I said, props to you for getting your foot in the door because I think there would have been a lot of hard work behind the scenes to make that happen.
It was a lot of hard work. I had to really walk my talk. The people who ended up getting me in the door, I clashed with them right at the beginning because they started a cannabis company here on the East Coast. And when I came into it and followed them, I realized that they had never had a connection with cannabis before. They were just people that looked at the opportunities or trying to bring opportunities to the East Coast. They looked at what was big on the coast, and it was just really farming and forestry.
Yep.
And they wanted to look at alternative things, and so they said, what are people good at here?" And they realized people were good at growing dope.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so
Yep.
that's how they started, and they grew off that story. And when I came out of the shadows, I was angry in my heart because I was going, "That's my fucking story.
Yeah.
That's the story of all the
Well,
people around here."
these people hiding in the bushes, and yeah, hiding in their back shed. Yeah, that's their story.
So we clashed right at the beginning, and I called them out, and but that was me. Like I that was the reason for coming out of the shadows and exposing myself, was because you had these people, this whole industry coming out like out of nowhere, trying to take something that my people and everyone else in New Zealand who risked it were
Have
persecuted
risked
for.
everything and worked hard for. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd face big prison time for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yet they wouldn't,
No,
these
they waltz
guys.
in with their pockets full of money and just go, hey, let's set up. We're doing the right thing for the community.
So I guess
It's a bit
that
of a
was
trigger.
my anger, yeah, my
Yep.
trigger, and also the lack of education in New Zealand at the time, because we were gearing up for a referendum, and a lot of the cannabis information or misinformation that was coming out through social media would just turn voters against trying to change the stigma. So I saw it as I by coming out, I risked everything I was doing, and I knew that I couldn't really go back to doing it because I just put a bullseye on my head.
Yep.
And so
100%
I
you did.
had to
Yep.
call everything out, call out the bullshit.
You have to stand up and
Um,
go, all right, I'm here. This is
yeah,
me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm putting my foot down.
Putting my foot down. And it's lucky that I work in the industry now, because I do it right inside the industry. And I've been referred to as the rage within the machine. I call out the industry with all the disingenuous stuff that it hides behind and what it's trying to do. And
And
the
calling
fact
it
is,
out
it's
within itself.
within itself. And
Yep.
like I'm getting a bit of traction, and it's not malice, I'm not being malice in that.
No, you're
I
not
think,
trying to hurt what they're doing. It's just trying to open their eyes to
open their eyes, get it
better
right.
ways of doing it. Yeah.
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 Because really all we've done in New Zealand with the medicinal cannabis scene is we've just legalized white collar drug dealing. That's all we've done in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, that's what I call it over here. It's subscription style weed boxes. Like Hello Fresh for weed. You
I
ring
love
up
it.
and you get your monthly supply, and out it comes out every month, and every month it rocks up at your door, and
Yeah.
and you can get on in your little app, and you can choose your strain of your 3 strains that you get for the month or whatever. It's fucking Hello Fresh for weed. It's got nothing to do with helping patients. It's not helping anybody.
Nah, nah. It's yeah, especially with the quality and stuff, and that's it. The patients in New Zealand that are accessing the scheme are just recreational people masquerading as patients,
Yep.
just getting in on that legal thing. And for me, like, I don't give a fuck. I think that's good if that's the way you want to get your weed. But
Yeah, and if
what
that's
they're
an easy
doing is,
way for you to access cannabis, and you don't have to go put yourself in a shit situation to get it, then
mm,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But unfortunately, like the real people, the real patients that need a lot of cannabis, often they just can't afford it. And
No.
so they're still servicing the black market, and
Or
I
even if
all
they could
praise to
afford it,
them.
they're not allowed it anyway because they go, oh
Yeah,
no, that's not your over your monthly limit. Shit like that. It's like, dude.
I crack up with that because like we've got this clinic that you can go to, and fuck, you can get like 43 repeats like on your pottle,
Yep.
and
Wow.
that's just like all kudos to them, because they've gone and slashed the consultation fees by doing that. You don't have to go back to them again. You just go and get your next script and your next script and your next script, and you're done.
They've found a little loophole that works for their system. Yep.
And that's great, I think, for because patients are consuming different amounts all the time. And
Of course
I've
they are.
got one guy I know, they've allowed him to have 4 grams a day in his
On his
on his
script.
script, and so
Yep.
that serves him better to be able to get as much as he can. But price just really, it limits them to, I guess, um, well, accessing better stuff, and they're
Quality over
just,
quantity and things like
yeah,
that. Yeah. Yeah. you can't really choose. They've got to go, well, I've got to go get that lesser grade because I
Yeah,
need more of it this month, or exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad, yeah, there's a lot better ways of doing it. And I think
Mm,
we have a big problem here too. I don't know if you have the problem yourselves, but there's a lot of black market medicinal cannabis too. Um, yeah, a lot of black market dealers selling medicinal cannabis broken down. So they're buying tubs, breaking it down into smaller amounts and selling it as import or, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. I've seen a bit of that here too.
yeah, like I know everyone's got to make a buck, but not a big fan of that.
Yeah, it sort of keeps like this is the most dangerous thing, is that it's letting this inferior quality cannabis become the norm, and so
Correct.
people don't know what quality is anymore if they're just mucking around with all these circles of
Yeah, well, their
illegal
local
industry.
dealer now goes, oh, well, I've got this stuff too that's, it's import, but it's fucking expensive. And,
Mm,
they go, oh, all right, I'll try it. And then that's to them, that's premium weed,
yeah,
because
and
it's a rock
that's
hard
the
nug and
unfortunate.
it's whatever else and it's what they've seen on Instagram or,
And because of all that, like people out there looking for weed all the time and going on Facebook, social media, Instagram, asking questions on there, a lot of the good growers have gone underground now. So the ones that are growing really good, exceptional quality cannabis are underground and just servicing their own little syndicates of people.
yeah, they've got
And
their own little groups of people that
yeah, and
trusted circles. Yeah.
trusted circles. And this is the same carry on that happened probably in mid to late 2000s when the meth came out. A lot of the good growers like myself, we all went underground because everyone was getting out of hand, narking on tinny shops and stuff like that.
And it's drugs as drugs as drugs is the way the
Yeah,
law enforcement sort of see it, I guess, at the time too. So it's like, well, I'll take myself out of the limelight and, you know,
yeah.
yeah,
And that was the safest move that a lot of them could do. But what happened was the gap in the black market was filled by opportunists who wanted to sell any kind of weed.
yep.
And so, when I
And
see
other drugs,
and other drugs and
yep,
and
because
and I
they
guess
become
that's why
more easily available because other good growers have to hide. Yeah, like you say.
yeah. Yeah. Now we've got in New Zealand, the I'd say a majority of the black market cannabis is bad, like worse than what it ever was when I played in the black market. And that's just because of the Vietnamese that are flooding New Zealand
PGR.
with this shit. And
Oh, I
yeah,
say
the PGR
PGR.
stuff.
I say that, and I hate using that word technically myself because kelp's a PGR. But
Mm,
so there's plenty of good PGRs, but these synthetic lawn fertilizers that the Vietnamese are just pumping into this stuff, and just weight going
yeah.
for as much as dense and as weight as I can make it, as heavy as I can make it. And
Mm,
it's all just
mm.
filled with crap and it's dangerous, chemical filled shit.
Yes. That's rife in New Zealand at the moment, and we're still yet to see the curve where people are realizing what it is and start coming off it back to the quality. But this is a it's a good thing for anybody who has got quality cannabis, because once people start realizing all this shit, they're going to realize what quality is again.
Yep.
And it probably could regulate the market because, right now an ounce in New Zealand of the Vietnamese grown shit is probably, I don't know, $100.
Wow.
hundred
Okay.
bucks for an indoor ounce of their shit. I've been hearing pounds going for as low as $700, from 1,700 to 700
Yeah.
when everything's flooded. And people are still buying it up because I guess before that people were getting ripped off with these point 0.7 gram tinnies and stuff like that, or $600 ounce.
Yep.
And so when all
COVID
this
times.
shit Yeah,
when all this import was flooding the markets, and yeah,
yeah,
all the opportunists come out of the woodwork. Yep.
all the opportunists come out of the woodwork, and so it's an opportunist market now. They've flooded it with crap weed, and we just need to get an influx of good genetics back out there to people to grow their own.
Well, this is
That's
why I'm
probably
a
what it's
massive
going to come
advocate
down
for
to.
home grow, mate.
Yeah,
You know, I think everyone should be allowed to just chuck some plants in a tent or chuck some plants in your backyard, and you know, you're not hurting anybody.
that's right. There's no victims to that crime.
Exactly, completely 100,000% victimless crime.
Mm.
Um, well, except maybe the odd fly or gnat that flies in there.
Peace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, that was my next question, so I'll lead on to that. Where do you think there is a space for home grow in recreation, or when it opens up like that? Do you think New Zealand will find a space for home grow?
Yeah, bro. Yep,
Yep. Awesome.
definitely. Um, there's a lot of things we're fighting for at the moment as a country, and home grow is probably the next one that's going to come up. Right now we're fighting for palliative care exemption, and when we talk about palliative care in New Zealand, if you're within 12 months terminally ill, you can access cannabis or any illicit drug to use in your dying days.
Yes. Yep.
But it doesn't support the people who grow that plant or make that tincture or balm or whatever. It doesn't protect anybody who
Making the
supplies to that
fecos and
person.
yeah.
So we're fighting for that at the moment, and also, for the fact that anybody who's sick should be able to use cannabis to heal themselves. So we're trying to go down that path, but the next path is looking at home grow and how that
Yep.
could look. And that's one of the hardest ones because I reach out through social media all the time just to get people's view on, how would it look if we were to
Grab a
try and put
perspective.
something.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. If you wanted to try and offer something to the government, what's the best way that we could put it that serves everybody or nearly everybody? And the government would say, yeah.
Yeah, it's
You know,
something that
and
doesn't come across as being like arrogant. You're not going to go, "Hey, I want a 100,000 foot square facility
yes.
for everybody."
But and that's where, we looked at that too, because there are people like not everyone's not the same. There's people that just want to grow a couple of plants in their backyard. There's breeders that want to grow 100 plants in their closet and pheno hunt and shit like that. And then
That's
you've
right.
got the guys that were already, doing their little semi-commercial illicit grows at home to serve the black market. They'll want to try and be able to still grow their own legally. And it's sort of looking at all these things that people are already doing and trying to figure out, hey, how would this work? And
How can it best service everybody without sort of
yeah,
cutting too many people off as well?
and a lot of it, when we look at what does it look like to do that in New Zealand, it comes down to basic common sense, and it comes back to, I guess, what we always did as growers in the real world everywhere, and that's be discreet.
Yep.
Like, don't grow, you want to grow next to a school, be discreet. Don't grow that fucking 6 meter high tree right next to a school. Pull that shit down. Make sure that shit don't smell,
Yeah.
and
Fences
people,
mustn't be see through and things like that.
yeah,
Like, yeah, can't be grown in your
it's,
front yard. And
yeah, just normal shit. It's like, and because it's trying to teach people to not only be discreet, but also to be safe and not attract attention to yourself, because that's what we would do as growers. We could grow a plant in our backyard, but we fucking camouflaged by other shit around it, or we've
yeah,
pulled
that's
it down
right.
and it's
It's
hidden
been
away.
tied down and pinned down to the ground, and there's a car park next to it. And yeah,
So that's why I see the value in everybody who's ever had anything to do with cannabis in providing the information on how we can get this across the line, because we all know we're talking the same lingo. We know what works as being discreet and being secretive. We've done it before. And we can do the same thing in a legal framework, so it's not offensive to the neighbor who's anti-cannabis. They wouldn't
Yep.
even fucking know what was going on,
No, that's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
So it's the same old
We-
shit that we've done illegally, bringing it into a legal platform. But I see like grow your own as one of the first things we need to do, and that's the things that we're pushing for in New Zealand before we actually get to whether it's decrim or legalization.
Yep.
And you know, for me and my journey of my company right at the beginning, where I saw E3C or East Coast Cannabis Company was to be like a dispensary growing its own shit, East Coast grown or East Coast represented in a dispensary to people. And what I want is probably last on the fucking list that'll ever happen as we progress along with decrim
Through the
legalization.
journey that needs to happen to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I don't mind, like, I knew what I wanted would be the last thing in this whole chain. And I don't mind fighting for everyone else's fucking rights
No, but you took
to
the
be able to
first, had
get
to take
mine.
the first step to get to that final step.
Yeah.
And if that means that you have to put a weight of a few other growers on your shoulders, then it sounds like you're willing to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And that's awesome, brother. You know, that's what it's all about, I guess, isn't it, really?
It is. It is when you get an opportunity. I guess when I got the opportunity to come out of the shadows and I looked at the lack of information and where we're trying to go as a country, and I thought, where would I want to be? I knew that you'd have to sort of line up the ducks for everything else to get to what I want. And what I want is probably the most evilest out of the whole plan
The most far
that they'd
fetched
look at.
from, yeah.
Yeah. But we'll start with fighting for everyone else to have their thing. And, you know, by allowing home grow and legalization, you know, for in a business sense of view, for anybody who's doing business, it's like, oh, but you're cutting your throat by trying to enforce all this other shit that's taking away money that could be for you. But it was
But
never
it's
about
not,
making money.
yeah, but it's not
Yeah,
either because
yeah,
if you're good at what you do, people are still going to seek out your cannabis. You know
that's
what I
right.
mean?
That's
They're
right.
going to go, nah, fuck, I want pros. You know, like, yeah, I grow my own, but I'm still going to go down the dispensary every now and again and grab myself an eighth or, you know, just to treat myself, you know,
Yeah,
whatever that may be. So, yeah, exactly. And it gives people that option and
that's right.
same as home grow, you know, gives patients that option
Yeah,
where they can grow one strain or cultivar, then they can grow another one and they can find what works for them.
yeah,
You know, and go, well, you know, I didn't really like that lemon tree. It didn't, you know, that sort of blew my head off. And that's not what
yeah,
I need. I need something to calm me down. So I'm going to try this. And yeah,
that's right. So
everyone
in the
should have
earlier
the
days,
option to self medicate. If you can go down and get Panadol, or you should be able to just go sit out in the backyard and smoke a joint.
that's right. And you should be allowed to, like you say, be able to have the ability to grow a few different genetics or have a few plants that you can replace one if you don't like it. When the Ministry of Justice came around, they came up to the East Coast in 2019 to talk about the referendum because they essentially were gathering information from areas like the East Coast that were predominant cannabis growing places, but also victims of high arrests.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yep.
they sort of said, well, you know, for personal grow, how many plants are you allowed? And you know, these are conservative people going, oh, 4 and 6, and like straight away it's like fucking bro, over 20, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yep. I want
50.
20. I want 50.
Yeah.
I want, yeah, give me 100.
Yeah.
Tell me when I can stop raising the number. Yeah. Yeah.
And they were shocked, eh? But that was the reality is that they look at it in a perception that it's just a person growing for their own habit. Not they don't look at it for people that grow for others
Yeah.
or people that do breeding or
Yeah. Like you
just
say, someone pheno hunting,
yeah,
you
someone
know,
pheno hunting or even the amateur grower that you know may destroy a few while they're growing it just from learning. So you need to have that sort of
the buffer.
buffer
Yeah.
to be allowed to play and
And learn
but
and grow as a person and grow
learn
as a
and grow
grower.
as a person. Yeah.
Yep,
So
100%.
I think that's you've got to always look at all that kind of thing because the government and other people in New Zealand who do cannabis, they don't see what other people do in their lives. They don't understand what breeders do or someone who is a connoisseur and just wanting to search through genetics to grow the best. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm
there's people breeding because, they pheno hunting because they want to find the best males and the best females and whatever.
yeah,
And then there's other people pheno hunting because they're connoisseurs and they're looking for that terp that they're chasing or they're looking
that's right.
for. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got to give people that option, I think, definitely, because that's what it's about. Where we want to give people the medicine they deserve and the medicine they should have access to. And we as humans generally know what we want. Like
Yep.
we know what works for us. If we take it, we know it works, or we know it doesn't work pretty much straight away. Well, oh yeah, no, don't like that. Or yes, I do like that. You know,
Yep.
and at the end of the day, we've got the endocannabinoid system. Sorry, stumbled on that one, but we've got the endocannabinoid system, so it's there for a reason.
Yes, and it needs to be understood.
Yep, there's a
Um,
lot more research that needs to go into it. I've spoken to a lot of doctors that say they don't learn anything about it in medical school, or that they might do a brief, little sitting on it, but
mm,
it's one of the most complex systems in our body. They should sort of
yes.
learn about it.
And cannabis is one of the only plants that interacts with it.
Yeah,
So it's magical.
it
And I
is.
think that's where in the like just going back to industry talk, because of their lack of understanding of the endocannabinoid system and their belief that certain genetics are good for this, one shoe doesn't fit all. Like what may be good for you may not be good for me.
Yep.
And our endocannabinoid systems work different, but it regulates cannabis to whatever it needs to supplement our body.
In or
So it's
to
a
help produce to treat that ailment or exactly. Yep.
mm,
Yeah, it all works differently for everybody, and you and I can both take on the same medical tub with the same, treats anxiety on the written on the side of it,
yeah,
and your anxiety could spike and mine could not.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
just because we reacted differently. Yeah, interesting, bro. So no, it's good. Sounds like you're putting in the good word
Yeah, just
within the industry.
yeah,
Just
within the industry. The industry holds me back from a lot of the stuff I really want to do. For the East Coast cannabis side of stuff. I work full time for Roo Bioscience, so I'm
yeah. So let's
stuck
touch
in
on
the
that. What do you do there? Yeah.
so I run I manage cultivation facility for Roo Bioscience. It's the heart of their operation.
Yep.
And I have a team of three others, so there's four of us in total that are really just meeting the outcomes of the company's strategy, which is genetics. So we're breeding and stuff like that. And in the industry, New Zealand's industry, the cultivation companies are cultivating, but Ruru Bioscience stopped cultivating, I think it was about 2022, like trying to cultivate to get a product to market in New Zealand
Yep. They
because
started to focus on the breeding.
yeah, the trying to get a product into New Zealand is so hard. Our regulations are so high. They're over spec'd. And
Yep.
so it means throwing millions of dollars into a hole. And all these other companies out there that are growing cannabis in New Zealand, trying to get it into the New Zealand market, are wasting money.
Yep.
And so that's one of the reasons, like the East
So
Coast
you're
Cannabis
talking
Company.
about bringing in cultivars from overseas and bringing in genetics
Oh,
and the type
working with, well, they,
through
Real
legal
Bioscience,
avenues, should I say?
it's a bit of that, but it's really working with what genetics are already in our country and a lot of those genetics that are out there in our country that have sort of been floating around, like nothing is
Pure anymore.
nothing is pure, and also New Zealand never had any land race genetics, it was all imported here.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah.
but what has adapted here or been held here over the years, some of it has all this major amounts of minor cannabinoids that haven't been seen in the industry yet. And so it's trying to bring stuff that we knew worked medicinally before, like bringing it into the market now, because New Zealand's market, if it was left to carry on as it was, it'll just be trying to get gelatos and all this other shit
Yeah, yeah,
into the industry.
yeah.
And it's all this flashy new weed that really isn't medicinal.
Not
So
really.
we're trying to go back to the roots and grow what we've got here and also get that across the world. This is a strategy of the company. It's not really my strategy, and I sort of disagree with it because, like I said, we're not a land race country.
No.
Most of the genetics probably came from the same place we're sending them back to,
Yep.
and but they would have been crossed with other genetics here. So yeah, it's a strategy that I don't really agree
Yes.
with,
No,
but
because I think you're just searching through watered down genetics at the end of the
yeah,
day.
searching through watered down genetics, and that's the gist of it. And so, but part of what I do is you reach out to like some of the old school breeders, the Todd McCormicks and the Shanti Barbers and
Yep.
those guys that were actually the breeders of the chronic back in the day, and trying to see if they've still got stuff from back then that was
What have you
essentially the
got
building
sitting in the
blocks.
vault? Yeah.
Yeah, what you got sitting in the vault from back in the day that, essentially build all the shit we've got now.
Yep.
And
Because I want to go
uh,
back on that line 20 years and find out, yeah, where it
yeah,
came from. Yeah.
yeah,
And I want those original terps and I want those original cannabinoids to come out.
that's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
We can get like the original white rhino terps back out into the market, or the original skunk
Yeah.
um, that came out, the pheno that circulated New Zealand. There were some really good phenos, and I guess when it comes to New Zealand, when we talk about New Zealand genetics across the world, it's whatever phenos ended up here, and
And
if they're really
someone
good,
might have hunted out something really, really good. And there's been some killer
yeah,
stuff come out in New Zealand, but it's
yeah,
hard work's had to go in to find it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But then, like you say, a lot of it's just watered down and it's just been, passed on and passed on and passed on and bred and bred and bred.
Mm.
So, yeah. But how do you guys go from a medical standpoint bringing in cultivars? So,
So that's the best thing. In New Zealand, we have this Form D, which is the illicit declaration. So it means once genetics come in my gate, I can declare them into the legal framework. We don't have to declare where they came from.
okay,
So that's one of the best things our industry has, and that was set up purposely for what I was talking about, trying to get the stuff that's already floating around New Zealand, and that was great trying to get it back into the
into the
industry.
medical framework, but it was like
Yeah,
someone could sort of, let's say, drop it off at your front door
yeah,
and you
and
can go,
and
yeah,
I guess with that, the danger comes of, especially when you're in a business now and spending money to pheno hunt and breed and all that, you've got to really know what you're getting, and the people you get it off have to be quite reputable, so that you're not just picking up rubbish genetics, trying to grow them out, waste all that money,
no,
realize
you
they're
don't want,
rubbish.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want old mate going, oh, well, me uncle's best mate's neighbor had this cut from way back. Yeah,
Exactly. And there's
yeah.
heaps of that shit, eh? And I get offered heaps of seed and stuff like that, but I don't I'm aware of what it costs to do what we need to do. So I'm really meticulous in what we get and what we
What you
try
would
and,
accept. Yeah.
yeah, what we'd accept and what we'd spend money on discovering. And the cultivation facility I run, it's not a viable facility. It's making no money, but the company is keeping it going just to meet their strategy. And so the strategy, their breeding strategy is what we do, but it also we're able to play a little bit. And when I say play, when the company said, well, all of a sudden changed its focus into breeding, they never knew what breeding meant. They didn't know the extent of what breeding is and the
Actually meant
phenotypes,
and hunting through and
stability
F1,
trial.
F2, F3, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, we're able to play and we were never breeders, but we're all growers. And
Yep.
so we're able to just wrap our heads
You have
around
an
it.
understanding of the plant anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got the touch, you've got the feel, you can read the plant. Most good growers can anyway.
Yeah.
And that's right. So yeah, you have an understanding of it. So and a background in it.
Yes. Yeah. And we're lucky that there's a few breeders in New Zealand um, who really like our cause and have interacted. So I network with them, with the breeders, and I learn more from them and understand more and actually get them involved as well, like bring them in into that legal sense. So I'm really good for bringing people in to come in, see what we're doing, be a part of it, and because the
Just to try and open
every
that door, crack the window for them and say, hey, look, stick your
yeah
head in and have a look. Yeah.
yeah have a look. I say to them never to pursue it because it's so expensive and it's a waste of money.
Yep.
But I always encourage them to carry on what they're doing. And people always say to me, they go, "Oh, do you think, how long do you reckon the black market's got?" And I just say, "Bro, just keep going because they'll never crush the black market ever."
No, there
You know,
has to be an avenue for it. Then they
yeah,
have to find a way for it. And even if they do open legal avenues, there's still going to be a black market.
yeah.
It'll just be called the green market or,
It'll be the green market. Yes, that's
exactly.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome, bro. Because, yeah, I think everyone's got to be encouraged to keep doing what they're doing. And anyone who's doing anything for the plant, I think
Yeah,
just needs to keep doing what you're doing
that's right. That's
because
right. Don't
your
stop.
time will come.
That's right.
Okay. If you could wave a magic wand at the industry and just change one thing, anything. I know we're talking New Zealand industry
Yeah,
here. It's
yeah. I'd say
extremely
that
similar.
uh, one thing I'd say change that, get rid of that radiation spec.
Yep.
Get rid of that. Create a safer, um, look, I
Safer
wouldn't say safe.
guideline around it,
Yeah,
around non-irradiated cannabis.
non-irradiated,
Yep.
non-irradiated. That's the biggest thing I try to take away. Only because we want people to experience terpenes and flavonoids and good quality cannabis at the peak of perfection,
Yes.
so, rather than this over-dried crap. So yeah, change that whole spec on cannabis. Get rid of that irradiation. Get rid of the T spec,
Yep.
um, and what they've got in. Yeah,
Yeah, that's an awesome answer, bro. Awesome answer. All right. Where do you see East Coast cannabis going from here? In the next 5 years, where do you see yourself taking East Coast cannabis?
mainly down the like reform. So I always wanted to just be the dispensary, like I was telling you about. But along this journey, we've seen that along the way, education has been one of the biggest things in New Zealand and trying to fight for reform. So knuckling into that side is like trying to change the narrative in New Zealand and
Reduce the stigma.
reduce the stigma and get something across to the government that they'll look at and say, "Yay, yep, we'll go with this." And
This
it
is a viable plan. Yep.
this is a viable plan. Lucky to be, I guess, in my making a lot of noise in this industry, being noticed by a few people that are up in the top end of the people fighting for reform, and so they've got the doctors and the academics and all that that can
Yep.
wean everything
That little
together.
MD next to their name. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, there's we come into that group, so we're trying to fight for change now. So I think that's the most important thing, and just trying to get the person on the other side to understand, because that's the biggest thing. People are trying to fight for change, but not trying to give an overlook of what it may look like, and this is what we can put forward. And so, if we carry on doing nothing in New Zealand, we're not going to get closer to rec. In 2018, we were getting into the government were going through the passing the bills to make medicinal, and the time frame, we were lucky to see the time frame with people that were building the industry, because the medicinal industry was built here on the East Coast, and time frame showed rec would be 5 years away. It's been 7 years now,
Yep.
and we people say rec is still 5 to 10 years away in New Zealand. But it isn't, because we need to just educate. Our next election next year, government parties will be fighting for the voters, and cannabis is one of the topics. So apparently, the whispers on the grapevine is that Labour we're looking at grow your own. And
Okay. Yep.
so when you hear that, it's promising, but we know that nobody is approaching them to show them what grow your own means. It's just something they're throwing out as bait at the moment.
Yeah.
And
They've
the
heard it
last,
being thrown around and they're like, well, that sounds like that's going to work for our policy. Yeah.
yeah. So that we're lucky that those are on the table, but really it still takes a lot of education to change that stigma within people that have just been impacted by prohibition for so long. Right now in our town, a lot of our old people are dying, dying of cancers, and
Yep.
now they're asking for cannabis-based medicine from our black market to help them. And
Yep.
these are the people that have been brought up thinking that cannabis is going to kill them.
Yep. As
And
a
so,
grower that faced 15 years for growing the plant we love and helping medical patients,
mm,
so I got commercial trafficking, commercial cultivation. So I understand. I
mm,
came in even into this interview. I came into it with a bit of a apprehension in a way, I guess, because I do have a bit of a grudge against the medical industry purely because of that.
yeah,
And I think,
yes,
I'm being persecuted for helping people that you should be helping.
yes, yes, yes. And that's beautiful, because I think for all of us that have been persecuted by the law for cannabis, we do look at the industry, and we see that as like, we've been labeled criminals, but you're not. And what's happening now is still criminal with this white collar drug dealing. It's all that's happening.
Yep.
And cultivation companies in New Zealand are struggling to survive while regulations are so hard, but these white collar drug dealers are creaming it.
Yep.
Yes,
Definitely
it's
they are.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
could see it. I think, yeah, there needs to be a lot more done about that. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, just we've got to really drop the stigma and make it easier for these growers to come out of the woodwork a bit, and because we have been persecuted and frowned upon for so long.
yes, yeah. The value that the value that everybody has, whether you've grown, manufactured, sold, or supplied,
Yep.
we all bring value to this industry because
1,000%.
we've done it.
Yeah, we've
And
been there. We're boots
yeah,
on the ground.
and the industry call that intellectual property. We have the intellectual property of
Correct.
what this industry needs.
Yep.
And yet the industry will try and claim all that intellectual property. So yeah, that's why I see why we need to have our foot in the door. And when I say we, it's everybody that's ever done anything with cannabis before. We need to be
Yep.
part of the legal part of it, because we know it better than most others. We
Yep.
know what works for
Agreed.
people,
Yeah.
and that's if that was the only way that I could get people into the industry by this journey that I've done, then I've succeeded in opening a pathway for others to come in. And I hope that a lot of the other companies that are out there that are coming on, because the original companies won't do it. A lot of the other companies coming on are hoping they can embrace the same model I have, whether it's, interacting with your local schools and stuff like that to
Have a
bring them
look at
in.
have a look at your ethos and your values and just
Yeah.
go, well, look what this guy's doing and how he's building community around cannabis, not just feeding cannabis to a community.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to sell for me, a lot of people would argue against me in the beginning and say, "Oh, why are you including kids and young people? Because, cannabis creates harm for them." And it's like, well, we need to educate them,
Yeah.
educate them about the plant. We're not trying to ram it down their
It's
throat that they should be smoking
education
it.
and lack of education that causes the harm.
That's right. And I feel that young people can make their own minds up about what they're going to do in their future. And if a lot of young people come through us, it's not about cannabis all the time. It's about learning a life skill.
Yep.
When we bring these kids into the facility and we're teaching them cloning or transplanting and stuff like that, it's a life skill that you can do with growing vegetables,
Well,
growing
it's
native
relatable. We
plants.
can go out and go do that to
Yeah.
orchids and yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's one of the positive things we try and promote when we get backlash for that. And they say, oh, kids, cannabis, nah. It's about the mentorship. It's about understanding what this plant is and having a hands-on
bit of
experience
respect
with
for the
something.
plant. Yep,
Yeah. And I think
100%.
those are the real values that are helping our community look at us a little bit different and, get in behind something that a lot of our community hates, and that's really
Yeah,
come from the aerial eradications and the arrests and
that's what stands
kicking
you
down
out
doors.
from all these other companies. Yep, as well.
Yeah, I think that's always been the thing, and it's been real. Like it's not staged, eh? It's not. I'm not trying to do it for a show. It's just
It's just
really,
what happens. It's one door that opens the
yeah,
next door, and you're like, well, I've got to go through that door to get to the next door.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
yep. I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, just making a bit of noise along the way where you can.
Yeah, always making a bit of noise
Yeah,
along the way.
that's the way. Bang on the
Yeah,
hallways.
yeah, bang on the hallways. And recently, like my teeth started falling out. Got this problem. It's a hereditary anyway in my family. And when my teeth started falling out, my front ones, I started getting real anxious of how I looked because I'm mouthy talking all the time.
Yep.
And I started thinking, fuck, this is the industry trying to shut me up, eh, by getting rid of my
Plants
teeth.
that seed in your head. You're like, oh, fucking hell. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've still got a lot of fighting to do. Like it really feels like, and I've heard people say this before, 1 year in the cannabis industry is like 7 years of your life. And I've seen people come and go in this industry, like people that are passionate and then they just get burnt out. And
They lose the passion. They lose the drive.
yeah,
They get it
and my
crushed.
passion has just never burnt
Yep.
out. I make sure to recharge and make sure to interact with like people like you and others where we can have these conversations, and it just puts that zah back into me like, yes, this is why we're doing it,
Yeah. We're doing it
and
for the right reasons. Yeah.
doing it for the right reasons. And
And
so I
like you
think,
say, like incorporating the young fellas as well, would that
yeah,
would give you some of that drive as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
All
the
those
the
things.
future of this industry is young people.
Yeah.
It's their industry, so we need to build it
Of
for them
course.
to come in and lead the way, and then we have to protect them while they're in there.
Protect them while they're there
Yeah,
and set the safe framework and the safe boundaries around the industry while we can and while we've got the opportunity to do so.
that's
I
right.
think too, before all these young kids come up that don't know any different.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, legacy needs definitely it needs to be advertised and people need to know the ways and
yeah. Like what
we
people
can't
need
lose
to.
touch with it.
Well, we've always got to remember that we're just standing on the shoulders of those before us, whether they're activists or growers and whatever. And cannabis cultivation has just,
Yeah, the Mark
it's
Emerys, the
evolved.
Shanty Barbers,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
names you mentioned before, exactly.
So, and we know that whatever platform we set will be the platform that the next generation stand on to fight for the plant.
Yep.
So,
Got to make
we
that
just got to be
platform as big as
appreciative.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Give
yeah.
them as much footing to stand on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's right. It's not, and a lot of people I meet in the industry, they're all about themselves. They're all about here and now and all that. And so I watch them come in and then go. And I think you've always got to realize that, what you're doing is not nothing new. Everyone's been doing it before. And a lot of these guys come in and think, oh, I can do it. And they just get burnt out. And
Yep.
lose their passion. And I've seen good cannabis growers come into this industry in the early day as growers and just get burnt out by the regulatory bullshit
Yep.
and
Get the
how they
passion
just,
sucked out of them by
yeah,
the industry. Yeah.
and they've just gone straight back to the black market where they can like really work and be with their plants without all that crap.
Yep. With all the
So,
bullshit that surrounds it. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it. So, if you could give one bit of advice to the next wave of young growers coming up, what's your major bit of advice that you'd hand out to all these young fellas getting their hands dirty at the moment, learning the plant?
I think always be humble. Always be humble. Never ever think you're the man.
Yep.
And
Great
I think
advice.
that'll really ground you with what cannabis is. I think, you know, as a
The
young
plant
grower,
never stops growing, so you should never either.
yeah, yeah, be humble and always encourage your next grower. Support and networking is the
Yep.
biggest thing, build your networks
Yep.
and look after people, people look after you.
That's it. Yep.
So those
Yeah, help
values
your
and morals.
neighbor and yeah, just general values and morals. Hold true
Mm,
to them. Yeah, sounds like good advice, brother. Just hold true. Don't let it sort of get carried
mm.
away. Don't let it go to your head.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that pretty much wraps us up, bro. I can't think of much more to sort of ask you. I think we touched on pretty much everything.
No, that was cool. That was
Yeah.
cool.
No, I enjoyed it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on. Like, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, brother, for doing this because we need a lot more people like you helping spread the stories and and bring awareness to other people. So there's immense value in podcasts these days and there's a whole community of people in the cannabis community that are listening to these podcasts and learning and evolving. And as the industry grows, a lot of the legacy gets left behind
Yep.
in a sense because the industry seems to be the hype. And we've got to get the legacy representation, keeping it as high as it should be in the hierarchy of where cannabis sits
Keep
in
the
our
caliber of it
countries.
high too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And keep
yeah,
the stories good and proper, I
yeah.
think. Speaking to people that know what they're talking about, know the plant, love the plant,
Mm,
respect the plant, and have lived and breathed it. Like you say, legacy.
legacy,
That
yeah.
story just needs to live on.
Give me a home out in the bush, please, with lots of more trees, a bomb or two, me, mate. Wild roots, some skunk out the back, hydro in the shed, in the old smoking chair. In the old smoking chair.